Okay, I'm doing a Highlifter 2-inch lift kit on a Kawasaki Mule. Just a few tips and pointers. I already got the front end done. I'm working on the back, but since I couldn't find anything on YouTube about how to do this or anybody that's doing it in the directions, oversimplify to say the least the effort. And it's really not that hard, but the way the directions lay it out is they just they don't give you the warnings and the difficulty levels of some of the activities. For instance, anytime it says spring, remove the spring, you're going to have trouble. At least even with automotive spring compressors, which seem to be too big to compress the springs to get them back on, have found no easy way to compress the springs to get them back on the shocks or the struts, whether it be the front or the back. So what I ended up doing on the front is just like I did on my Ford F-150, which I did not remove the springs for. I just put the spacer in. After failing to get the springs back on, they're pretty yellow springs. So the front end has been completed. I put 25-inch wheels, or 25-inch tires with 12-inch wheels on it. Left the original springs and put the spacer on. In the back, they tell you to use a pry bar to adjust the rear end spring or the rear spring to get it back on the new shackles. Shackles, taking those off were no big deal. The putting them back on was no big deal either, but the right way to do it is not to use a pry bar, but to put your frame on jacks or jack stands, and then take a jack, put it under your hitch, and just slowly move it up or down until you get to the right spot. Mine just needed a little bit of crank here and there, and it lined right up, and the shackles went right on, and no problems. Now, again, the next step was to take the springs off the shocks, the rear shocks, put a spacer in there, and put the springs back on. Sounds easy. Okay, well, you put a spacer in between the spring and the bottom of the shock. You've just added about an inch at least to the length of the shaft that spring, the same size spring, has to go back down over. So compressing that far enough to get that little spacer down over that little silver bar in there, you have to go down about 5 inches to get there. And I've tried, as you can see, different methods of compression and again, everything from automotive spring compressors, which are just too big for these kind of little springs on these UTVs, to get that down. So I think I've got it figured out. I took a weight that the hole just happens to be about the right size for the top of the spring. I'm waiting on a buddy to come down, and we're going to push this thing down by brute force and have my son slip the ring on when we do that. I did it by myself and got it almost all the way down, so I'm pretty sure with two guys we'll be able to get it down and on. So, but that means it's a three-man job to put these springs back on the shocks. Anyway, I think it's going to look good. It's just, as always, it's a little harder than it looks, and the directions way oversimplifying, since nobody had put a video out on YouTube about how it really works. I wanted to do that. Just see if I can give you a little shot here of, so you can see that's the spacer, and then you have the shock, and there's still plenty of shock or spring on that shock, on that strut. So I know the yellow ones are stiffer, but I'm not going to be going over jumps and big ruts and things like that. Mine's mainly for running around the ranch, so I figured, and not going to hurt a thing. So there you go.